thou that sleepest, arise from the dead.
Read the Bible, you'll find out that God's not too happy with what's going on around us.
Redeem the time, because the days are evil.
The Bible has not changed.
Boldly proclaim the restoration and preservation of Christian values in America.
Satan has brainwashed a whole nation.
As goes the church, so goes the nation.
Nobody's convicted of anything anymore.
And now, here's Last Call with your host, B.J. Edwards.
Morning, morning, morning. Hope you're all doing well. Satan has brainwashed a whole nation? Is that possible?
It is.
Hey, you're about to listen.
Just look at all the nations.
That's true. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
You are about to listen to 2 hours of opinion and entertainment supplied by Last Call Radio, where you can see the difference. We're not doctors, lawyers, politicians, professional journalists, nor do either of us hold a doctorate degree in anything. Not that that would make any difference. Our opinion, of course. We only ask that you as an individual and or corporately not take our statements or those that we voice from others personal. Nor do we recommend that you act on them as if they are facts, although they might very well be just that, facts. Our opinion. Again, not required to listen to, act on, or repeat anything that you hear today, and that any information or opinion we present is meant for the good of the order and by no means intended to harm or threaten anyone. Hey, follow us on Rumble. It does help. Last Call. Last Call.
Last Call Radio.
Yeah.
With B.J. Edwards.
Yeah. And Mr.
If you're
Anderson.
looking for the channel on Rumble.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll do that. Got headlines. I hope you're all doing well, folks. Got a great guest for the second hour. Arthur Schaper. The gentleman is just absolutely incredible. A doer and mass resistance, the organization he works with, is making a difference, folks. They are making a huge difference. 11 o'clock hour. You know, this is about 5 years ago. We started a exercise called the Natural Family Month, and we're trying to get cities, states, counties, townships to celebrate the family from Mother's Day through Father's Day, bookends. First week is for mothers, and then children, and then grandparents, great-grandparents, extended family, and then it ends on Father's Day week. And we've been really pleased with the responses we're getting. It's been really interesting, though, in terms of the kind of product we end up with. There's some variations out there. I think it was Arkansas is celebrating Fidelity Month, and I got an email the other day where somebody is celebrating Masculinity Month. All well and good. But and we're going to have this discussion because we got to get ready for 2027. We need a lot more unity with this, a lot more order to it. It has made a difference, and it's got people discussing. And I guess what we're seeing in terms of some of the differences is how those discussions are interpreted. But it's all good. As long as we're talking about the natural family, and that is the biblical family, which is one biologically born man, father, one biologically born woman, mother, and a lifelong committed monogamous relationship with their children, biological and or adopted. That's civilization, folks. That's the foundation of civilization. That's the first institution that God created for the benefit of man. And of course, man has done everything like in the garden to change that to his own whims. Listen, when you talk about the family,
and he's still doing that, you know. I mean, he's still playing those games with us, isn't he?
As long as we let it work, as long as we help him work it, yeah, yeah. What about this? What about that? Hey, don't look over here, look over there. Oh, yeah, I get it. It's a challenge, but we believe we have. How are we going to get back to a Christian nation? How are we going to do that? What vehicles are we going to use? Are we going to stand on the street corner with a megaphone and yell at people and throw Bible verses at them?
I don't think that worked very well over the last 50, 60 years.
Yeah, well, if it works, we haven't seen the results of it yet. Haven't seen the results of it yet.
Maybe,
Go ahead.
maybe an individual or two, but yeah.
It's not the. By the way, do you know whether anybody? I was watching a video last night of a young Christian man talking to a United Methodist pastoress, and it was a very interesting discussion. The pastoress said that when it comes to transgender, that no child under the 18 has ever gone through that kind of surgery. I don't know whether that's true or not. Do you know anything about that? Anybody? I don't know. I really don't know. I know these are changing times, and I'm still. They haven't kicked me totally off of Nextdoor, although they do kind of look at what I say and examine it a little closer than others, and that's okay. Don't mind that. Don't mind that at all. We got somebody that popped in there. Oh, good man. Good man. On Nextdoor, there's a gentleman that wrote an essay, if you will, which is absolutely incredible. And it talks about where we've come since the 60s and 70s. He says we're often called the elderly, but the quiet label hides a truth most people rarely pause to consider. We are the last living witnesses of a world that no longer exists. Some of you can't think back to the 60s and 70s and 80s. Some of us can. It was a simpler world then, folks. And the gentleman says we're not simply older people moving through the final chapters of life. We're the survivors of one of the most breathtaking transformations in human history. Amen. A generation that walked with the slow, deliberate rhythm of an analog world into a dazzling speed, deliberate rhythm of a digital one without ever losing our sense of humanity along the way. Our journey began in very different places. Many of us were born in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when the scars of World War II were still fresh across Europe and Asia, and the world was slowly learning how to hope again. Cities rose from rubble. Families rebuilt lives after years of uncertainty. Childhood unfolded in ways that would feel almost unrecognizable to younger generations today. Our toys were simple: marbles played in dusty yards, hopscotch drawn on cracked sidewalks, checkers, and cards gathered around the kitchen tables while the smell of dinner filled the house. When the streetlights flickered on an evening, it was the universal signal that children's adventures were over for the day, and it was time to go home. There were no smartphones, no streaming videos, no endless scroll of digital distractions. Instead, we built our memories on the real world with scraped knees, laughter echoing down neighborhood streets, and friendships that formed face to face without the mediation of screens. Music became one of the defining soundtracks of our youth. In the 1960s and 70s, it arrived like a wave of color and rebellion. We watched culture shift around us, carried by the electric guitars and voices that dared to question the world. For many of them, gathering like the legendary Woodstock Festival in 1969 symbolized something powerful, the belief that peace, music, and community would reshape the future. Those concerts were not merely entertainment. They were moments when strangers felt like a single generation singing the same hope under an open sky. Education looked different then. Our notebooks were filled with handwritten notes carefully copied from chalkboards. Research required patience, long hours of libraries, and stacks of heavy books rather than a quick internet search. We learned to slow down and think through ideas because information did not arrive instantly. Mistakes were corrected with erasers and ink, not with a click of a delete button. Love carried a rhythm as well. We fell in love with the vinyl records spun on turntables and cassette tables, clicked softly inside plastic players. Music became the background to the first dance, long conversation, and dreams about the future. Those relationships grew up into marriages, families, and lives built step by step through the 1980s and 1990s. Decades that saw technology begin to reshape the world around us. Yet nothing compares to the bridge our generation has crossed. We are the only generation to have experienced an entirely analog childhood and a fully digital adulthood. We remember waiting days, or sometimes weeks, for handwritten letters to arrive in the mail. Remember rotary phones and party lines where neighbors could accidentally overhear conversations. Communications required patience and anticipation. Today, we can see the face of loved ones across the ocean instantly on a small screen, enough to fit into a pocket. The world changed in ways few could have imagined. We watched humanity land on the moon in 1969, a moment when millions of Americans sat in living rooms staring at black and white televisions as Neil Armstrong took humanity's first step on another world. We saw the rise of personal computers, the birth of the internet, and eventually the arrival of smartphones that placed entire libraries of knowledge in our hands. Machines that once filled entire rooms now exist on devices lighter than a paperback book. We moved from punch cards and mechanical tools to artificial intelligence and global networks connecting billions of people instantly. We're taking you on a trip from the past, folks. And through every shift we adapted. Our bodies carry the marks of the times we lived through as well. We grew up during fear of polio and tuberculosis, illnesses that once terrified entire communities before vaccines helped bring them under control. Although every shift we adopted, our bodies carry the marks of the times we went through. We witnessed the global challenges of pandemics and healthcare crises across decades, including the recent silence and uncertainty of COVID-19, which reminded the world that resilience is still required in every generation. Science itself transformed before our eyes. We saw the discovery of structure of DNA in 1953, the decoding of human genome at the turn of the century, and the early steps into gene therapy and advanced medicine. Transportation evolved, and simple bicycles and steam engines to hybrid vehicles, electric cars guiding almost silently through the city streets. Few generations have witnessed such sweeping changes, and yet, despite everything that evolved around us, certain things remain unchanged. We still understand the joy of a cold bottle of lemonade on a hot afternoon. We still remember the taste of vegetables picked straight from a garden. We still know the value of a long conversation that unfolds slowly without a keyboard or screen interrupting it. Our memories stretched across the decades. We celebrated births, mourned losses, watched friends depart, and carried their stories forward. Those of us who remain share something rare, the experience of standing at the crossroads of history, holding memories from a world that younger generations know only through photographs and stories. But we are not relics. We are living bridges. Our perspective reminds the modern world that progress does not have to erase wisdom. The speed of technology does not have to replace patience, kindness, or reflection. Remember that life felt like before everything moved so fast, and the memory carries quiet lessons worth sharing. So when somebody calls us elderly, we can smile, because behind that word lies something extraordinary. We are the generation that crossed 2 centuries, witnessed 8 decades of transformation, and walked from the age of handwritten letters to the era of artificial intelligence. What a life we have lived. What a remarkable story we continue to carry. And if you belong to this generation, take a moment today and look in the mirror and recognize something powerful. You are not simply growing older, you are living history. You are part of a generation that will always remain one of a kind. And perhaps in the quietest, most meaningful ways, You are becoming legendary. To me, this is a very striking article. Very striking. Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, yeah, it is very striking. And I was watching a video last night. I wish I had a copy of it now. How the guy was demonstrating. He had two nails that were locked together, and it's a puzzle, right? And you probably played with them yourself. These puzzles with nails and various things. You got to unlock them, figure them out. And the point of it was these little things were invented purposely to instill thinking skills in children.
Mm-hmm.
These toys were actually to train children to think, and maybe old people too. And I don't know if you're interested. To go along with your article about the past and so forth, a few weeks ago, I made this short video of a guy that did a TV show back in the 50s, early 60s. I don't know, back when TV was black and white. Remember that?
Yeah.
Before the world became color. It's like the Wizard of Oz. It switches from black and white to color all of a sudden. And I don't know if you're interested. I made a little video of this to kind of demonstrate. His program is called Why Is It So? I don't have the whole program. Just I made a clip of it. If you're interested, I will share it with you and the audience.
Okay. Go ahead and I guess at break, and we're about due for a break. You can fire away with that. Listen, from the 50s to now, there's been one incredible explosion.
It has been.
I mean,
I don't know if Norm had something to say real quick.
Yeah.
Not real quick. Go ahead and do your break, and then I'll talk. How's that?
Okay. All right.
B.J. Edwards along with Mr. Anderson, your last call.
If I tried to do the problem of the chain first, it is too difficult. So here is a line of endeavor for the human intellect. When it attacks a problem, it must make things simple first.
Progressively.
As Einstein said, in the beginning, things must be made as simple as possible. See, Einstein. Now, if then we understand what these things do, I have a problem. Here is a football. That's a Yankee kind, isn't it? We might imagine this football to be an ellipsoid of revolution. You know, an ellipse which is spun on its long axis. So when I spin this football like this, it is spinning about an axis for which the moment of inertia is so much. Now watch what the football does. Watch it. Oh, what do you think it'll do?
Will it behave the same as the lariat?
Yeah, well, notice, this is the long axis now.
Yes.
Watch it. Oh, I'll have to do it again. Oh, notice. Just
have it. Here we are.
Yes. Notice one loses his professional dignity in these experiments. There it is. There it is. It came up on end. Notice, I'm so delighted with this that I'm going to do it again. There it is. There it is. Do you see what it did? First, it was rotating about that axis. Then it took rotation about that axis. And this introduces a very serious problem for the physicist, the mathematician, and the student of nature. Why does it do this? Is it violating the theorem which I spoke of before? Or is it not? Suggestion, hint. See, I hint only a very little bit. Man must agree with the principles of nature. Hence, there is no violation here. But where the dilemma lies, I leave for the observer. Watch it. There it is again.
Up again.
Now,
Professor, you have about 2 minutes left, I think.
2 minutes. Good, 2 minutes. We will entitle this adventure, The Case of the Notched Stick. Let's get over here and see what an enjoyable exercise we can have with a stick. Now, let me see how it looks on camera. Good. I have a stick, rectangular cross-section, which I have notched with a file. You
Yes,
just notch
yes.
it. And on the end of the stick, I have put a little propeller fixed with a little nail in the middle. You see how it is?
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Now what am I going to do with this? I'm going to lay this on the edge of the table, and with another stick, which I call the stroker, I am going to make that propeller behave in a manner unbelievable. Watch. Watch. What do you see that propeller doing?
It's spinning. I can't see which direction.
Oh,
It's
watch it
spinning
now. Watch it.
Kicked over to the
Right.
spinning
Watch it now.
anti-clockwise.
Now the other
Spinning
way.
clockwise.
Right. Do you see that I can make this propeller go counterclockwise or clockwise as I please? Watch it. That's this way for me. That's this way for me. Is not this a delight? Now, this is a child's toy, which every boy and girl in Australia who sees this program can make. See?
Yes.
Now, when he gets into the university and has had 5 years of mathematics and 5 years of physics, he is in a position to explore it. What I am saying, Sanders, is this. The toys are designed for child's play, but when one inquires into why it is so, it is no longer child's play.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
And we are back 75 years ago, started in the 50s, 75 years ago. There's been an explosion of technology and communication that is absolutely, positively unbelievable. Unbelievable. And something else happened from the 50s to the 2025, 2026. And that is the evolution of the family. And by the way, when things evolve, they don't evolve up. They evolve down. And that's exactly what has happened to the family. I set you up, Norm. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, there's a reason for that, but I want to address something else first. That Methodist pastor that said we've not damaged the kids under 18 or had the gender changed. That is not true. I've seen several young girls that's been interviewed that, at 14, 15 years old had their breast removed. And so, and just him making that statement is like, well, nobody under 18, like it's okay if you get 18, you can change your gender. Like it's okay with God then. So, but anyway, when you go back to the 60s and look at the free love, and we've progressed from that, and there's a reason. Say one unconfessed sin by a nation leads to another, and it always gets progressive. And we've gone from the free love, and then Christians sat back and said, well, what they do doesn't bother me. We're good church going people, and we don't approve of it, but it's okay. Well, see, it's not okay with God, and God told his people, the children of Israel, to stand up against the sin that was going on in the nation. Read Judges 2, starting with verse 2. And the people suffered a severe consequence because they would not stand up to the sin that was going on in their nation. God said, they will become thorns in your sides, and their God shall be a snare unto you. That's Judges 2. But anyway, so now we've got to where we're cutting off body parts, and there's something worse coming than that. I don't know what it is. I suspect it will be they will start euthanizing all of us old people when we get unproductive, and it's costing more to keep us alive than it is to take us out. And the same with kids that have, young kids that has a disease that's too costly. That's probably what's coming next. I don't know that, but it'll be worse than what's been, because again, you can trace it back, and ever unconfessed sin, the generation gets worse and worse. So that's on Christians. We've not stood up and taken our authority over all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's all.
Any comments, Mr. Anderson? By the way, the 60s, the theme of the 60s and 70s, if it feels good, do it.
Why not? Feels good.
There's no rules outside of that. Just if for heaven's sakes, if it feels good, do it. What's the matter with you?
Well,
Well,
Make your man might be one. Go ahead.
I actually mentioned that yesterday in my weekly poem. People have lost their discernment, and they don't know the difference between right and wrong.
There is none.
So
There is no line.
if it
it's all
feels good,
relative.
do it. Yeah, all relative.
It's your opinion. Your opinion.
I think God had something to say about that.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about the Bible and God, do we?
Well, it was
Well, we
interesting.
do.
Yeah.
I think we're not afraid of it.
No.
I love it. It's just where we are is absolutely amazing, with no guardrails, and that's what we've removed from the '60s on. We removed the guardrails. You can get instant good feelings. Get on your, or bad feelings. Get on your phone. You can get one or the other. It's just when I read this essay this gentleman wrote, I went, wow.
Yeah.
Because we've lost that love and feeling. We have lost the ability to say this is right and this is wrong. We've lost that ability. And again, getting back to that interview that my Mrs. BJ and I saw yesterday, one thing that, it was a young kid and he did a fairly good job. But the one thing that I woke up this morning, I'm going, you know what? He should have asked that United Methodist preacheress. We couldn't decide whether it was a guy or a gal. Okay, we still not sure. We're still not sure. She talked about being married to her wife. I don't know exactly how all that works, nor do I care. But the one thing that he should have asked and didn't to that individual is sodomy, not homosexuality. He said that, well, the Bible doesn't talk about, it didn't talk about homosexuality till it was changed in the 50s or 60s or whatever that was. So that's okay. And the Bible doesn't use the term homosexuality, so it can't be wrong because the Bible doesn't mention it. You know, like, doesn't mention running a red light or a stop sign, or there's a lot of things the Bible doesn't mention specifically. But it is something that you can refer to, right and wrong. It's and I kind of want to set up.
That's the perimeters that people like to ignore.
Yeah.
There are boundaries.
Yep. We could talk about Iran and what's going on over there. I still don't know. I don't see an out from this, from Iran. I see this kind of like a Vietnam. You're not going to win that war. You're just not going to win that war. And we've given, in my humble opinion, Iran more assets than they had to begin with. The Strait of Hormuz being one. You get contrasting narratives on the Iran negotiations. Iran is stepping up execution of political dissidents. One of the leaders in Iran says the Strait of Hormuz will never return to pre-war status and will be administered by Tehran. There is some good news, and I'm going to get to some things that are questioning. Dominion Voting drops lawsuit against Mike Lindell. I didn't get into a lot of detail about that, but I see that very interesting. When Mike Lindell is persistent, like our guest in the second hour. Can't wait to talk to him. Major League Baseball relents. Players can refuse Pride paraphernalia. When you stand up, folks, and you're in God's will. Mass arrest in fraud scandals. Hundreds of people have been arrested in the largest investigation of healthcare fraud in history. Ninth Circuit blocks California gender secrecy law, upholds parents' rights. Natural Family Month. What happens if we start celebrating the biblical family, the tradition of the natural family, the one biological man and woman, etc.? What happens if we started celebrating that? What happens if we cast that vision? The Bible says, where there's a division, the people perish. What happens?
I think it calls attention to what seems right to do, and opens the door for people to feel better about talking about family and how, the structure of it and how it should be, and maybe hopefully families will start thinking about keeping the family together.
Amen. Amen. It is so critical. It's so important, folks. It's the first thing that Satan attacked, and purposeful. It's just absolutely amazing. Ohio passes bill requiring schools to teach students to have children after marriage. The success sequence model includes completing at least a high school education, obtaining full-time work, marrying before having children to reduce the likelihood of living in poverty as adults. Now, all this sounds good and well, folks, but we gave public schools the right to teach sex education, and what happened after that? Now we're giving the schools, not the parents, we're giving the schools the right to teach success sequence, their decision, whatever they decide that's going to be. And what about having children to reduce likelihood of living in poverty as adults? When those children have two moms or two dads, what happens? We don't know. It's an experiment, folks. It's an experiment. James Tallarico, we've talked about him, claims to be a Christian who hates Christianity in a resurfaced interview. 1,000 worked as a GM. Don't like robots, don't like AI. Oh boy, there's a battle I'd like to see. Nearly a third of U.S. adults are under the age of 35. I got into that earlier. I want to get into socialism. No, I'm sorry. Communism. Stop the socialism. It's just a stage to get to communism. If it feels good, do it.
I think most of the isms end up under one label, Satanism.
Yep. You got feminism, racism, greenism, COVIDism, humanism, socialism, communism, paganism, eroticism, sexism, genderism, Junism. Wow. We're being ismed to death, aren't we? We due for a break, Mr. Anderson?
Oh, yeah.
And I'll continue with the headlines and then maybe get into oh man, there's just so much going on. When we come back, go ahead.
I was going to say there's a few participants that want to talk, I think.
Okay, we'll let them in.
So
after the break.
Last Call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Is it over? Nope. No, he goes from 10 to 12. Oh, I got the microphone open.
Good morning, James Bond. JC, go ahead, brother. Come on in.
All right, you let me in. Here we go.
Okay, thanks, JC. We got to run. Appreciate you.
See you later. See you later. I'm out of here. This will just fire some of you up or whoever's listening. You know, you're talking about you read that whole article on the way it used to be.
Yep.
That was a lot of good stuff in there. I shared a little brief story the other morning on Coach's show. I don't know if you heard it or not. It's from around 1970. And this will tie into Pastor Tony Spell and some other situations. And it'll probably tie into Iran. And it'll tie into our schools. And the boys going in girls' bathrooms. This will all tie together. So in about 1970, I was a young kid then, very little, maybe 10, 11, I don't know what I was. 4 kids in the house. And for weeks, we had a guy coming around the neighborhood when remember the old terminology back then, window peeking? You had window peekers.
I have no idea what that means.
Oh, jeez. You were one of them. That's why you didn't know what it was.
Huh? What are you talking about, officer?
So here we go. We got a little dead-end street we live on. 4 or 5 dads, protectors of the family. They all had kids. They were getting sick and tired of this. The kids were scared at night to get in their beds because they didn't know somebody's peeking in their window. This had gone on for a little while. So the dads got together, 4 or 5 of them. And we back then went to church a little bit, you know what I mean? But the families had some morals and values, and all that stuff you read in that letter pertains to this. So the dads decided, the husbands said, listen, here's what we're going to do. 4 or 5 of us, we're going to climb up that TV antenna. We had the towers then you can climb up. We're each going to climb up our towers and lay on the roofs tonight. And we're going to wait for this window peeker to come around. He thinks he's going to come around and scare our kids. We're going to put a whooping on this boy. So he did. He showed up. And boy, I don't know which one it was, couldn't remember. But at that point, one of them come down and put a whooping on that boy. The window peeking stopped. It was it. Put the fear of God in there. Didn't call the cops. Didn't ask the pastor if we could do it, if that was righteous anger or not. They just took care of the situation, never got in any trouble, and put a stop to the window peeker. Same thing with these boys going in the girls' bathroom. Iran being nothing but liars and killing and slaughtering people and everything, on and on and on. It's time to put a whooping on somebody. So that's all I got. I figured you'd really like that, JR.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Listen, that essay just blew me away. It's like, whoa. Yeah, it's giving the history of the United States in a very brief essay, personal history of that. Just incredible. Go ahead, Norm. I think James Bond wanted in.
Yeah,
James,
go ahead with James.
James, you want in?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, your comment. What are your 10 words or less? What are your thoughts on the past, sir? Then I'll comment.
On the past? I think
10
the
words or
removal
less. Your thoughts on the pastor situation?
Yeah. The pastor or the past?
Well, I'm lost for
We're
voice.
talking about one and the same. We've erased the line between right
Jim,
and
I
wrong.
lost you, voice-wise.
I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me now? Everybody else can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Roger, you're gonna have to fix that. Go ahead, Norm. While Roger's trying to fix his sound issue.
Well, the issue with the pastors is he wanted you to talk about. My conclusion, it's become about their kingdom, and when I say their kingdom, it's about their church,
Mm-hmm.
and it progressing, and of course, one thing that you'll notice, see, when spirituality goes down in a church, activities go up. And they try to compensate, and that's why so many churches have all these activities, and now there's some activities that's good, but they keep doing more programs, and it looks good, but God's not in it. And so again, my conclusion is it's about their kingdom and not about God's kingdom. Or if it was about God's kingdom, they would begin to speak up from the pulpit about what's going on and call it like it is. And so you can call it like it is without promoting Democrat or Republican. Just say, here's what this group believes, and here's what that group believes. And but I also see, I'm also encouraged that I think we've got a movement back. I think we're seeing a big surge in homeschooling.
Yes.
And, of course, evil has been around since the beginning. And the Bible talks about a remnant. There's just a handful, so to speak, that's going to really follow the Lord. And then you've got a bunch that could care less. And then you've got that church group that go to church and act all righteous. But as Jesus said, they're going to say, "But Lord, did we not do this and that and the other?" And he's going to say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." And and I think we've got a lot of pastors in that group. So
Good point. Good point. James, can you hear us now? I don't think so. James is having technical problems.
I think he went back to bed.
Yeah. I'll take him out of there.
Hey, JR.
Yes, sir. It's BJ, but go ahead.
Okay. BJ, Roger, whoever. I think what Mr. Oh gosh, now you guys call him James Bond. Roger, I think what he's asking is, what about the situation with Pastor Tony Spell? I think that's where he was heading with that.
Okay. For those of you who don't know what's going on, Tony Spell is a Louisiana pastor who, for the past 6 years, has had a gentleman across the street neighbor that is yelling and making sexual innuendos to children, wives, anybody that's there, harassing the church, if you will. Pastor Spell went to the police several times. Nothing happened. And this past week, the gentleman across the street, I think a 20-year-old, basically said that he was going to rape the pastor's wife and kill his children. And the pastor come up to confront him with that. And by confront him, it was verbally, but the young gentleman took a swing at the pastor, missed, took another swing at the pastor and missed. And on the third swing he took at the pastor grabbed him, nailed him, threw him on the ground, and proceeded to pound him. Now, if you see the video, you would say, "Whoa, wait a minute, hold on. I can understand the initial part of this. But for the pastor to continue to pound on this gentleman, that's wrong." And I want you to understand something, that our public servants, police, kill people when they get their adrenaline gone and their life is in danger. And when you have that adrenaline going through your system, you're not thinking about, "I'm done yet." Your life's been threatened and you have to stop that threat. Does that make any sense to you? Go ahead. Can you hear us now?
Yes. Jim, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
The question I had,
James or JR or something. Go ahead.
BJ, you're sitting on a jury, whoever's listening here, you're on a jury. I don't see how they get 12 of them to convict them. I think there's always going to be one or two holdouts. There may be 7 or 8 that might convict, but I just don't see how in the world. But here's my question. My understanding is the camera that filmed him was a camera that was put up by the police department to watch the church. Is there any truth to that?
I heard the same thing. I don't know, but it was interesting that they had that view of what happened. I don't know where that view came from.
And you wonder how quickly they were able to see that, because it would be clear to me that the first punches were thrown by the kid, you know what I'm saying, whoever it is.
Yep.
So it would seem to me, if in fact that camera was put up by the police, they could have seen that rather quickly, but yet they chose to charge the pastor. It's clear to me that they're walking towards each other, but he really doesn't engage physically until the kid, however old he is, throws a couple punches. Then, baby, it's all on. It's on then,
Yep. Yep.
And I don't know if he's in trouble for going too far with it. You're trying to, there's a danger. You're going to stop the danger. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'll be frank with you. Had that kid not thrown some punches, I think he would be convicted, because you can't respond with physical force just because somebody exercises their right for speech. I don't care how bad it is. And I say that so that others are not encouraged that when somebody is screaming and yelling at me, I can go beat the crap out of them. I think the jury would find you guilty on that. Many a time somebody's heard noises out their house and they fire shots into the darkness and kill somebody, and that person goes to prison for a long time. But I don't see how a jury convicts them. I really don't. This kid threw punches twice first, then game on.
Well, you have the first video that you saw did not show the young kid throwing punches.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
What you first see, it's difficult to get that wiped away from your memory.
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to form, and then there's a pride issue. People are going to form opinion based upon what they saw, and they saw this pastor beating the snot out of this young kid. They did not see the kid throwing punches at the pastor.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's wrong. I see a pastor beating up somebody on the ground. That's all I see.
Yeah.
But
I think we're going to see more of this. I think, people are getting fed up. They're just getting fed up. And I have no problem with the concept of engaging physically to protect oneself, but you want to be very careful, because the system is designed to catch you and put you away, not the perpetrator, the person that's causing the problems. But I think you're going to see more and more of these youth takeovers of neighborhoods. You're going to see neighborhoods starting to revolt against that and take the law into their own hands. You know what I'm saying? I think you're going to see more of this. Because the woke police departments, the woke politicians, for some reason, just think they're not going to. But this is what's going on in Europe. Take a look at Europe and the no-go zones, where the police can't go into the Muslim enclaves to enforce anything. They're too afraid. So all hell breaks loose and they take care of themselves. That's all I got this morning, my friend.
Norm, you got a comment?
Well, I was not aware of the Louisiana situation, but a friend of mine Thursday was telling me about a situation. I don't know where it was at, but there was a pervert in the community, and nobody ever did anything about it. And the men got together and beat the stuffing out of him and burned his house. I know that's extreme,
Wow.
But I think good people are getting fed up of what's going on. And of course, that pastor, it sounded like that fellow had been threatening, and he had a lot of pent up anger and so forth, and probably went too far. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but so we got to be careful.
James Jones, your mic is on mute. Did you want to make a statement?
Yeah, it's the whole. I mean, they'll say there's a limit to what you can do, but Pastor Spells just stood up for his family and defended himself. I mean, they're gonna. We all know what the narrative is going to be. So, I always ask people, do your homework, look at everything before you sit there and jump on board and try to say he was wrong.
And James, thank you, James. I agree with you, but unfortunately, in this day and age, I call it the Uber generation. We're used to having things done for us. We don't have to think too much. That's why we have computers, and that's why we have calculators, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to think anymore. We just have to expect. And if we don't get served, then we're victims. And everybody loves a victim. And that is where we are in America today. We are spoiled, rotten, and we don't have to think anything. We're going to let the news media or the government or the schools or somebody else do the thinking for us. I wish some of that thinking would be done by the church, but they just don't think they have to think, I guess, or help. Mr. Anderson, comment?
I don't know what transpired. I saw that video. I didn't know what that was about, what was going on. I mean, it looked like the pastor was relentless in beating this kid.
Yep.
That was very bothersome. But my concern is still today. I mean, the violence is just escalating in all kinds of places, in all kinds of ways. There was a stabbing at a ball game here. Oh, I don't know how long ago it was, where a kid murdered another kid. I guess at a ball game. There's violence. There's violence at ball games. There's people just are out of control with their emotions and what's going on. And it's just growing. I don't, you talk about the past, and we're looking at, what seems to be the innocence of the past in a way. And what we're experiencing today, we just got to find a better way. We just got to find a better way to talk to each other and resolve our issues.
And I lay a lot of that on what we've done to the family, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no. Go ahead.
And I'm meeting a lot of people and talking to a lot of people who agree with that, which is exciting for our cause, promoting Natural Family Month, and shouldn't be a month, right? Natural family, natural family life,
Absolutely.
I think too. I think our young people are angry, and the reason they're angry, when we go back and look at the need God has put in us for love, and He's given the responsibility to the parents to meet that love need, but parents has turned them over to their phones and their computers, and they've got these tablets, at 3 and 4 years old, and again, parents are busy and not spending the time. And what have we said? Kids spell what? Love, T-I-M-E, and you don't give them time. And again, that rejection turns to hurt, and that hurt turns to anger, and that anger is going to come out.
Every child is born with a need for their mother and father.
Absolutely.
One male, one female. When you take one away, go ahead.
Well, I think I'll go back on what Norm said a show or two back. It's the lack of Bible or instruction, spiritual instruction, godly instruction within the family. I don't remember what you quoted, Norm, but you were talking about how, you were to bring up your child, teaching them the word on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's Deuteronomy chapter 6, starting in verse 4. He said, "The words I command you today shall be on your heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Talk about them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise up. Bind them as signs on your hands, frontlets over your eyes. Put them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates." That's a 24/7 process.
If there's a solution to the problem,
and it's on the back of the parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't receive that kind of instruction growing up either. Maybe some church, maybe some, I don't know. Everybody has a different background there, but each generation you go back, the farther you go back, the more you see religious, and I don't like the term religious, but you see religious training in the families, the farther back you go into the past. So as Jim was bringing up some of the, talking about the past and some of the times where it seemed like, well, this was a great time. Well, in some ways it was, because there was more emphasis on godly upbringing.
Well, and even the church folks today, they carry their kids to church, which is good, but they expect the Sunday school teacher and the preacher in an hour a week to train their kids, and of course they do that because the parents themselves is not aware of God's word and God's teachings, and that's that's the whole problem is not following the instructions God gave.
Yeah, common sense.
Yeah, putting that responsibility on somebody else, and when it's theirs.
JC.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little testimony of Pastor Tony Spell. I've met the man. We were down there in Louisiana when the government tried to railroad him about the mask and all that 6 years ago because he wouldn't wear a mask. He didn't shut his church down. And this guy is family. He's all about family. He's all about kids. One of the nicest guys you ever meet. Very mellow, very kind. 6 years of nonsense from this guy. And I can tell you, I guarantee you, Pastor Tony Spell had his church praying for that guy. They were trying to get through it. But when you keep reporting the guy to the police and they don't do nothing, it's just about common sense says the police department, the law enforcement down there is just totally against Pastor Tony Spell because he won a case through the Third Circuit or Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals down there in Baton Rouge. They dropped all charges against him. So for the last 5 or 6 years, they're laying for this guy. They didn't do nothing. He's out there working. They said the story was he was out there working on them school buses. Mm-hmm. He's got a fleet of school buses, 4 or 5 or 6 of them. Heat of the day, laying under that bus, working on it. He didn't have a mechanic working on it. He was working on it. And he finally come out from underneath that bus and had enough. But the guy is truly a God-called pastor. He's a good dude, and he's protecting his family. And the thing of it is it's not that he went overboard on it. If he'd have punched a guy once, wouldn't have taught the guy nothing. He'd have been right back out there screaming, saying he's going to threaten to rape and kill his kids and grandkids.
Good point.
If somebody threatens to rape your grandkids and kill them, next time you leave your house, what are you going to do? Game over. It's time to put a stop to the demonic side of that guy. That's it.
Thanks, JC. There are laws that if somebody breaks into your house in certain states and they threaten you, you can kill them. Why would that be a law? Why would self-defense like that be a law? Just asking a question. I think we got a 2-minute warning, don't we, Mr. Anderson?
Yes, we do.
And they said he trucks in about 1,000 kids a month to his school, to his church with their buses. He cares about kids.
Amen.
I want to preface this 2-minute warning about something that Norm said earlier in the show about euthanasia, because that's exactly what it's about. Coming to a country near you.
Here's a disturbing story out of the Netherlands where we now learn that a 12-year-old was euthanized, yes, put to death, 2 years after the country removed the age limit. And we only learned about this 1 year after they put the child to death because they had to report it to their House of Representatives. The Dutch government legally euthanized for severely ill children allows now between the ages of 1 and 12. They legalized this back in 2024. In other words, a 1-year-old or a 3-year-old can just be put to death by the government. Of course, Canada is ground zero for assisted suicides. Like, no one does a bigger job of exporting suicide than Canada. It leads the world in this demonic practice. Canada has, in a 2023 parliamentary report, began suggesting that mature minors, whatever that means, be allowed to be put to death. And then the College of Physicians in 2025 was reported saying we should extend it to babies 0 to 1 years old, because they can speak for themselves. 0, which the Netherlands already do. So the Netherlands already allows this madness. Canada is on the same path as the Netherlands, of course, because they need to catch up. Kelsey Sheeran is the author of Do No Harm and the host of the Kelsey Sheeran Perspective, and she's perhaps the leading voice on trying to stop this demonic practice in the country of Canada. Kelsey, welcome to the show. Great to see you.
Keeping you informed. This is Last Call with BJ Edwards.
And we are back, and we've got a great guest this hour. Arthur Schaper is field director, mass resistance, and I'm just going to read a few headlines in terms of what these folks have been involved with. Kansas mass resistance activist takes over pro-LGBT library. Board meeting with poster of obscene page from LGBT book for teens. Forced arrogant officers to face the truth. Triggered big change. No Pride Month displays this year in the leftist library. Canadian LGBT lawfare. Bill Watcott on trial again in Toronto. We have to get Bill back on after we get that decision made. And let's see. Mass resistance attack worldwide in leftist media for simply advising pro-family forces in Senegal. The list goes on. The list goes on. Art Schaper, come on down, brother.
How you doing there, BJ? Glad to be back. Thank you.
It's good to have you back. You been busy?
Boy, have we. I appreciate the headlines that you rattled off just before I jumped on. I can't thank you enough. I mean, we're still active internationally as well as nationally, taking a stand, pushing for outcomes, not just information. That is, I think, the key point that I want your listeners to understand. You've got to fight this. You've got to win this, and you can win this. In the past, we were working with activists in the Ohio area. I remember Delaware County, there was a creepy drag queen showing up, and we raised hell. We helped people in the area. And the creepy man, with all of his issues, he cries on Instagram, "Oh, homophobia won again," because the drag show was shut down. No, drag queens are not for kids. They're not for adults. Let's have some sanctity here, please. So mass resistance, we're still making the difference. I'm so glad to be on the show. I want to put you back in the driver's seat. What do you want to talk about first? Because I could go on and on about everything.
I want to know how you can help me.
You know what? That's a lot of your humility is really admirable. Thank you for that. And that's important. And I want to respect.
We lost you for a second.
Thank you for taking the fight for Traditional Family Month there in Ohio. I am really proud of this. I love the fact that we are the go-to source, mass resistance. We are the go-to source for pro-family activists in Africa. They want results. They want to crack down on the proliferation and promotion of perversion. They come to us for help. We advised, there was a gentleman named Ababakar Mboop. He was there in Dakar. That's the capital city for Senegal. This was a chance for me to put my French skills to work. I was a French major. I was even a French teacher. Je parle toujours français. J'étais enseignante de français aussi. And the guy spoke no English. So I had to make use of I was pretty rusty, but I was able to get by with some subtitles, but we were able to talk to each other. I provided him resources. We gave them strategies on how to advance this legislation. It is really inspiring. The people of Senegal don't want this perversion pervasive. It's very inspiring to see parents taking a stand in the streets and saying, my son will not be homosexual. I'm not going to allow my kids to be groomed in the schools or in the public square. And that's the kind of courage we need to see in every country. And so they they already had anti-sodomy statutes. They enhanced the penalties for perversion between men and between women. And they also are punishing the promotion of it through nonprofits and other groups. And that's the key, because you have the woke West pushing all kinds of wickedness, including sexual degeneracy of all sorts. And African countries, with some help from President Trump, incidentally enough, I'll talk about that a little bit later, they want to put an end to this. They are not going to be tied down by foreign aid. They are not going to be bullied into certain lucrative trade deals, and the trade-off meaning they have to allow sexual perversion to be pervasive, allow Pride Month and all that other garbage. These are not, they're not afraid to say no to perversion. They don't want it in the community. They don't want their children harmed. They don't want public order undermined. So Senegal, they enacted the legislation. They got it done. And it was a badge of honor for us It started with Associated Press. One of the reporters reached out to us because Abubakar said, this is the group who helped us. And we explained our role. We explained what we did. And from that one report, every LGBT group imaginable lost their minds. They just went crazy. They said, oh no, mass resistance is invading every corner of the world and they're turning everybody homophobic. This hate group is doing all these terrible things. I mean, we live in their heads rent free, and it is the highest honor. And to this day, there are still articles being published attacking us because of what we accomplished in Senegal. And not just Senegal, but we also assisted in Ghana. That country has elected a new president who is committed to stamping out all promotion and proliferation of homosexual perversion and transgender madness. And so that bill has recently passed as well. Now he just has to sign it. We are on the move. And this is actually the way to go. You have to say no to this degeneracy. The only way a society survives is you have to say no. You have to have the courage to do this. And I will give a little credit to President Trump. I mean, he has cut off all the funding for all the USAID funding. It was propping up all of this LGBT promotionalism all over the country. It is staggering. Children, in order to go to public schools in Africa, they still have to pay for it. It's not paid through taxes. It's like private school. And a lot of these kids and their families, they have no money. So nonprofits step in and they offer, out of the goodness of their heart, they pay for the kids to go to school. But there's a trade-off. The kids have to go to some class on the weekends where they learn about healthy practices, quote unquote. They learn about LGBT this and that and all that other garbage. They're taught about different genders. They're taught about, safe sex, when we all know that sex ed is really about, promoting the degeneracy. It actually makes it worse. There are numerous studies that affirm this. And so that's what we've run into, especially, we were working with a pastor in Kenya who was going out of his way to educate the kids against homosexual indoctrination. It's happening, because of these out-of-country NGOs. Trump cut off the money. Trump did away with all of the diplomatic pressure that Joe Biden and Barack Obama had engaged in. And now countries are just breathing freely and they're saying, we're going to stop this stuff. We're not going to tolerate it. Just to remind your readers, I didn't give you this link, but if you want to, I can send it to you if you're interested. We were even working with pro-family activists in Kyrgyzstan. That's a country in Central Asia. And we assisted them with passing strict laws against LGBT promotion in the schools, public square. They have gone a step further, ending sex mutilation, not just for minors, but for everybody. They just passed something this year. There is a growing crackdown against this woke neo-imperialism. I mean, it's a little technical term, but that's what you're seeing from, some inimical interest in the West normalizing this garbage. So there it is. That's a big thing I'm very proud of in Senegal. So tell me, what do you think of that, BJ? What do you think your audience would say to that, the work that we're doing in Africa?
Exemplary. How's that? Does that describe what we're doing here? Love it. Arthur, for heaven's sakes, there's not enough problems in the United States. You got to take your business overseas. Come on, man.
This is what we're dealing with. Huh? It's all over the map here, but we're doing stuff here locally. Kansas, you mentioned that briefly. We've got a great leader down there, Kathy Brown. When she's not fighting for people's rights in court, she's fighting against perversion everywhere else. She has taken a consistent stance against the Topeka Shawnee County Library. They have obscene books, including Genderqueer, This Book is Gay, and all that other filthy stuff. She has taken an aggressive approach. She goes to those library board meetings with her team, and they have a big picture that they promote showing the obscene pictures from Genderqueer. And they don't take it away. They say, look, folks, this is what's in your libraries. You seem to think that this is acceptable. You see that. And her efforts were instrumental in stopping a Pride Month from being promoted, from taking place in the libraries this year. That is always a win. Topeka is the most liberal section of the state. That's where the state capital is. And yet even there, our activists are able to be effective. That's a big win for us. Also coming close to home, we could talk about the city of Redlands. Well, okay, let me go back to Kansas. I don't want to forget this. Kathy will be really upset with me. She has been building incredible relationships. Kathy Brown and her team, they have built incredible relationships with Kansas state legislators. They are prepared to cut all the funding for the American Library Association so that they cannot infiltrate and promote their, godless, evil LGBT agenda in the library systems. Libraries want to be funded. They can't do the ALA. They have to cut off all ties. And there was a big movement for that, which we helped initiate in Wyoming when the Campbell County library system said, we're done with the ALA. We're not going to work with them, and we're not going to train our library staff with ALA resources. So we're working on that in Kansas. We're preparing for the next legislative session. We will have a better governor. There's no question Mr. Ty Masterson will be the governor. He's going to be a conservative instead of that Democrat who was thwarting a lot of our pro-family efforts. We had worked with State Senator Mike Thompson 3 years ago to get the bill through to ban sex mutilation of minors. That did pass over, the previous, Governor Kelly's override. But we're going to have a better ally in the governor's mansion. We're going to cut the funding, and we're also hoping to get our resolution against Obergefell submitted. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. Let me go back to what other things have we done stateside. We've been working with a great group in Redlands, California. We have a pretty strong, school board, 2 members at least. The third one's kind of weak. We have to kind of push her to keep her in line. We have been intimidating and scaring off really bad hate group called Together for Redlands. They really should be called Transgender for Redlands because they're so committed to LGBT perversion and all of its evil fringes. We've scared them off. We have broken their chokehold on that school board. We have witnessed the school board implementing one policy after another to protect kids, to stop the promotion of perversion. They've implemented a strong book policy so that parents can take a stand and get rid of obscene books like The Bluest Eye and Push. Those books are explicitly pornographic. It's obscene that anybody and foolish to think that those belong in a school library. They were able to get those removed. And then on top of that, one vile smart aleck wanted to take those book challenge rules and try to get the Bible removed. Tried to get the Bible removed from the Redlands Unified School District. Well, our team showed up, spoke out against that ridiculous policy. And initially, the Bible was only available in the high schools, but they then expanded its availability to the elementary and middle schools as well. So it totally backfired on them. So those are a couple of things that we've done locally. Back to internationally, the last article that you shared with your audience before bringing me on, it's in the United Kingdom. We have a growing chapter, getting more members there. They have started taking a stance against those vile pride flags. St. Albans is a town just outside of London, and the museum was flying that awful, perversion flag every June. Well, one of our activist leaders went right in and said, you need to take that down. It shouldn't be even up there. Just as simple as that. The flag was removed, and that's it. And now they've expanded the effort. They're going after other public buildings, other public spaces to get these pride flags removed as well. So we're on the move there. One of our key activists, David Skinner, he was persecuted by the British judicial system for sending in emails to the local police department. He was charged under the Malicious Communications Act simply for telling the truth about abortion and the whole LGBT agenda. 3 years of legal persecution, back and forth, being told to come to court. Then they would delay the move. They would tell him to do this, to do that. It got to a place where he didn't have a jury trial. It was before a magistrate. And there was the possibility in the last few hearings, he was bringing a suitcase with him because there was the concern he would be right away remanded into custody. But he won. He was vindicated in court, didn't have to pay a fine. In fact, the British system, the prosecutors, they have to reimburse all of his legal fees. This is a huge win. This is a precedent-setting case in the United Kingdom where they do not have freedom of speech. They spend more time arresting people for saying there are only 2 sexes and transgenderism is a mental illness than they do arresting migrants for raping minors. There was the horrible Rotherham scandal and other rape gang scandals. 250,000 British children molested by Islamic rapists. And nobody went to jail. But they'll arrest you if you say that two men abusing each other is an abomination. They'll arrest you if you say that there are only two sexes. They will arrest you if you pray outside of an abortion clinic, or if you are stationed near an abortion clinic, making a statement or wanting to offer counsel to women and girls going to the clinics. This is the UK right now. It is tyranny of the highest order, and it needs to be overturned. It needs to be demolished. And Mr. David Skinner, our UK activist, has played a seminal role in assisting with that restoration of freedom. This is very exciting.
Arthur, I'm going to let you go on. We're going to take a break.
Sure.
Folks, just for your information, the LGBTQ MAFIA community does not want equality. Okay, please, they do not want equality. They have to have dominance, because they know inside of their hearts that what they're doing is not right. Yeah. And so you have to have other people say 10 times over that you are right, so you can feel better about yourself. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about equality. We're talking about dominance. When you have a stage, it was initially, well, we just want to play a little role in the play. Okay, a little role. And then the next thing you know is they're writing, they're starring, and there's no room for anybody else unless they're from the LGBTQ MAFIA community. Okay, that is what we're talking about. And they're not used to having the kind of resistance, excuse the pun, the mass resistance that they're getting right now. And they're not used to losing. Mr. Anderson, take us to break, and we'll go back. We'll continue the conversation. Panelists, if you have any questions or comments, just unmute yourself and we'll bring you in. BJ Edwards along with Mr. Anderson.
Last call with BJ Edwards. Real talk about real life.
Arthur Schaper, the Energizer Bunny, if you will, of activism, working for mass resistance. I have known about these folks for several years, and yes, they have been instrumental in some wins that we were involved in, and that other folks have been involved in. And we need more folks like that. Mass resist. It's massresistance.org, massresistance.org. And I highly recommend you go to that site and listen, send them some money. Send them some money. They need financial support.
We do. I mean, we're not we're not corporate, propped up, because we go all the way in fighting this. We don't tinker around the edges. We don't compromise. We don't say nice things and hope to get invited to the Christmas parties. We have to tell the truth, the whole truth, and the unpleasant truth about this agenda. And a lot of people don't like that. So donations, activists, we are trying to build our movements. We have a larger plan. We want to have 30 chapters in 30 states, or 25 states and 5 countries. We don't care. That's our larger vision. We want to really push this. People are getting a little complacent, because I said Trump has been a great help to fighting this agenda, and people think, well, hey, President Trump is restoring things. He's making America great again. But no, the fight is always continuing at the local level, at the state level. This is what the framers had always intended. We, as the citizens, must take a stand. We must be prepared to water the tree of liberty with the blood of tyrants. Those are the words of Thomas Jefferson. That's on us. The responsibility to Benjamin Franklin, we have a republic if you can keep it. And part of that necessary republic is to say no to perversion. This is a fundamental attack on the foundations of our republic, to make it okay for 2 men or 2 women to abuse each other, to traffic children, to pretend to be married couples, to force pride on everybody, to cancel people when they don't want to celebrate this perversity. This is our fight, and we need to continue no matter who's in the White House.
Amen. I think I might have asked you this question before, but I'm going to ask it again just for clarification and let folks listen. This is Do Radio. We want to present things to you that will excite you and motivate you to do something. And we bring people that have done that to tell you that it's not impossible. They tell you it's impossible, but it's not impossible to do the right thing. It is not. Arthur Schaper, how long have you been with Mass Resistance?
I've been a volunteer since 2014, and then I was hired full time in 2018. So,
Okay.
we're looking at 12 years of, kicking butt and fighting the good fight. It's going to be 8 years as an employed, member within the higher, the leadership. That was in July of 2018. So it's almost 8 years now. Very excited.
What got you into this? What were you doing prior to this? And was there an event or something significant that said, whoa, wait a minute, hold on?
The story I always start with is 2003, Pastor Oka Green of Sweden. I was watching the Trinity Broadcasting Network, and this horrific story of a pastor in Sweden preaching the truth about sexual norms as the biblical standards when it comes to sexual behavior. He didn't just preach against homosexuality. He preached against adultery. He preached against cohabitation. And he was arrested for this. I mean, that was just chilling to me. I never forgot that. I said, this is evil and that's wrong. And that made me angry. And there was another pastor, Rod Parsley. He's there in Ohio. He talked about the growing LGBT tyranny. This was in 2006. There was a t-shirt company in Canada that was sued and compelled. They had to print t-shirts for a Pride event. I mean, this kind of compulsion is evil. What happened to the bed and breakfast owners in Hawaii? They were forced to provide a room to a homosexual couple when it went against their values and standards. This is evil. And I saw this tyranny. I saw the CEO of Mozilla Firefox getting canceled because he donated money to the Prop 8 campaign. This is evil. This is tyranny. Why are we? That was the first thing. My initial attitude was kind of live and let live. If you're gay, just leave it to yourself. Who cares? But don't force it on me, and don't punish people who don't agree. It has taken me a while, and the work I've done with Mass Resistance, we have become attuned to a very harsh and unpleasant reality, which is that you can't tolerate this. This notion of, well, we can do both. You can live and let live and not violate my rights. Well, we've tried that. You have failed. In fact, you talked about this earlier, BJ. It's never been about tolerance. It's about dominance. We are expected to, we are required to wave the 6-colored flag, recite the Pride Month mantras, go along with the agenda, accommodate it in every way, because it's the only way that they can get anywhere near normalization. But it can't be. We can't tolerate this. You can't normalize it. You can't legalize it. You can't promote it. And when I saw what was happening, now, how did I get in touch with Mass? Well, I was a freelance correspondent for Rhode Island and Massachusetts. There were 2 news sites, Go Local Worcester, Go Local Prof. And I was writing at length about news events, commentary for those 2 states, even though I live in California. Then the Justina Pelletier case came out in Massachusetts. This was abuse of power. You had the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families. They took Justina Pelletier away from her parents because she was having health issues. Her health was in decline. And I mean, this was Stalinist. This is like right out of 1984. The idea that a State Department can take a child away like this. What was particularly egregious, though, is nobody knew about it. Nobody was talking about that except me and Mike Huckabee when he had a talk show on TBN. I wrote extensively about this. I was sounding the alarm. I was demanding the freedom for Justina Pelletier. And I found out about a group called Mass Resistance. And I connected with Brian Kamaker, the president, and they were working hard to get a law through the Massachusetts legislature, which would put an end to these forced custody, the forced removal of children from homes by the Massachusetts Department of Children and Families. So little by little, I was learning about Mass Resistance. They fight for parental rights, fight to restore natural family. Then from there, I learned about GLSEN, the Gay Lesbian Student Education Network. They showed me that all of this LGBT promotionalism was rampant in Massachusetts schools. I was aghast. I said, you have got to be kidding me. They're teaching this stuff to kids? I mean, this is obscene. And I started reporting on that. And, I just was getting their emails. I saw that you had a group that was taking a stand against the forced promotion of LGBT in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, in the Veterans Festivals. I saw what happened to Dr. Paul Church. He worked at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, and he was canceled. He was fired for telling the truth about homosexual conduct to his patients. He was a urologist, explaining even to homosexual patients, you are hurting your body, you are cutting your lifespan short, engaging in this conduct. This was evil to see this doctor pilloried, persecuted, and then put out to pasture for telling the truth about these destructive behaviors. And I was involved in that fight. I was a volunteer. I took the lead. Brian said, I want to start setting up chapters. You can be the California director. And I was happy to take the lead. We rallied to stop a really bad bill that would have punished religious schools in California. It was Senate Bill 1146. This was in 2016, 10 years ago. This is a bill that would have restricted the Title IX exemptions in the schools. They would have been forced to allow confused men into women's sports and spaces, to allow for homosexual students to, promote their lifestyle, and the school would be required to accommodate it. That bill was ultimately watered down. We were instrumental in fighting back against the most egregious parts of it. And off and on, I was still helping to fight LGBT perversion here, there, and elsewhere. But mostly I was focused in California. 2018, I was hired full-time as a director to help form other chapters around the country and around the world. And that's where I've been ever since. But this LGBT, perversity, it started with the abuse, the Stalinism. This is wrong. It is not okay for you to force me to go along with this. And it has become just an outright opposition. We shouldn't normalize homosexuality, transgenderism at all. We have to say no to it, because if you take away the sanction, then they insist on proliferation. We can't go along with that. It needs to be sanctioned. It's harmful conduct. It's a misuse of organs. It undermines public health. It undermines public order. It's a violation of natural law. These are essential arguments, by the way, because even now, a lot of conservative groups, a lot of pro-family groups, they still struggle with explaining why, because the common retort is, well, why does my gay marriage, how does that affect you? Why are you insisting on this? And the answer is because it's not a private matter. When you undermine marriage, you're harming kids. When you undermine marriage, you're forcing me to go along with it. Of course, the best summation to rebuff that empty argument, check out our documentary, What Gay Marriage Did to Massachusetts. Every form of Stalinist tyranny was imposed in every facet of public life in Massachusetts. The kids had to be taught about it. The parents had to go along with it. If you wanted to be a lawyer in Massachusetts, you had to be educated on same-sex marriage, same-sex issues. You had to go along with it. If you didn't want to accommodate it, you wouldn't be licensed by the state bar. Insurance companies had to tolerate it. All of the public documents had to be changed from, like, marriage certificates. Instead of man and wife, it became partner A, partner B. All of it went through. And of course, even now as we speak in Massachusetts, they've begun recognizing pluralistic marriages, polyandry, polygamy. This is obscene. Somerville, I think, was the first municipality to provide benefits for, multiple partner, combinations. There's no nice way to put it. You can't call, such abomination of marriage. The slippery slope is real. We warned everybody. And we have
words mean
hell about it ever since.
Yeah, words mean things. Before you, and Norm, I think, has a comment or a question. Before you normalize something, you need to naturalize it.
There you go.
You have to put it through that prism. If it doesn't meet the natural law prism, then you're going to have problems.
Yes.
And natural laws, folks, are protective. They are protective, and they are obvious. Whether you like to admit it or not, they're obvious.
They're self-evident.
Yeah. Good point.
That's it. Declaration of Independence.
Yes. Good to see you all there. You're doing the Lord's work. One thing that we've overlooked as Christians, God's word said sin defiles the land.
Yes.
And if you go back to Exodus, you're going to see there that God said, I'll spew you out of the land. And that actually happened. And it was over sin and these things. And like I said, we've had this attitude, well, what they do doesn't bother me, just live and let live. And that's a very unchristian attitude. And I talked about this in the first hour in Judges 2. God said, you are to go out and tear down their altars. He said, you've not done this. And he said, they're going to become a snare unto you. So anyway, what kind of budget does mass resistance have in the needs?
It's we always have an extensive need. We are trying to grow, and we don't have like big corporate money that comes our way for a lot of these like pro-family establishment groups who say the right things, mostly focus on commentary and reporting rather than activism. So we are very much in need of ongoing financial support, especially to start doing stuff overseas as we've been doing, and also to nurture and help teams locally to win at the state level, as well as here, as well as across the country.
Do y'all have a full-time person to raise funds?
We're working on it.
Okay.
If there's someone who'd like to volunteer for the short term, we'd be more than happy to bring them on. I said short term. It doesn't mean that they would just be expected to do something for nothing.
Right. A good friend of mine's daughter, she raises funds for a conservative operation in Nashville. And she raises millions of dollars a year for them. And so, I think if you could find a good person, there's a lot of wealthy people out there that will help you. So you can keep that in mind. But God bless you for what you're doing.
Norm, if you've got somebody in mind, we want to. That's part of the ways we want to expand. I'm gonna, BJ, if you could send my contact info to Mr. Davis, I'd very much appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're going to take a break, and then I'm going to bring James Bond on, and hopefully we'll get him in here. B.J. Edwards, along with Mr. Anderson, Mass Resistance, Arthur Schaper. Wow.
Faith, discussion, and so much more. Last call with B.J. Edwards.
And we're back. I'll bring Mr. Bond on here in a second. Just reading the headlines, and this is just from this year, from the website. Leftists try to ban Bible from California school district. Mass resistance directs successful community opposition. How conservative school officials protect obscene books and mislead concerned parents. Spatial Report Part 7, 1984 Equal Access Act and the truth about GSAs. National and local mainstream media react to mass resistance resolution demanding SCOTUS overturn its 2015 gay marriage.
I got to talk about our updates on that effort. Thanks for reminding me.
Okay. I'll make a note on that. James Bond, go ahead, sir.
James Bond. All right. Come on in, 007.
Okay.
I got him. There we go.
Good. You hear me all right?
Yes.
You sure do.
I'm always worried. I'm out here in the Netherlands, the Hitherlands, and I don't always come in.
You have a great disguise. You have a great disguise this morning. Go ahead, James.
Well, a couple quick things. One is make sure you get information out before he gets off of his website and how to make donations.
Please.
Do you have any chapters that are in Ohio?
We want to build one. We were working with a wonderful lady in Kettering. Things fell off because there were family issues she had to take care of, but that's where we had started. We would definitely like to restart our efforts in Ohio because we had done some stuff in the past there in the Buckeye State.
Well, there's a good group of believers and supporters of what you were doing here in Central Ohio. So if BJ can get your phone number out, maybe we could give you a call and talk about it a little bit.
Please.
My question is school district, public education. I have a pretty firm position, and I can throw out those that would agree with me that you would know their names. And I think I'm right. But it's get your kids out of public education, period. That it is lost. That public education, government schools, get your kids out. I will push grocery carts at Walmart before I let my kid go to a government school. How wrong am I, or how right am I? And because there's a pretty strong contingent of people, you might know their names, who are saying it's over in public education, government schools. Get your kids out. Your thoughts?
So the biggest problem with the only the major problem with that proposal is there are a lot of kids who are still there. And it's important to realize, we as conservatives, we've often just withdrawn from the corrupt, polluted public square, whether it comes to business, whether it comes to homeschooling, whether it comes to other endeavors. But the state and its slavery to the LGBT agenda is still going to pursue. In California, they tried to enact onerous nosis discipula laws to make homeschooling nearly impossible. And what I just mean, nosis, it's like a cheating law where they give the impression that they're trying to make something safer, but the real idea is just to undermine the whole organization. They wanted to require homeschools to have proper, firefighting techniques, to have proper fire safety parameters in place. They wanted to put all of these onerous regulations so that people would just not homeschool their kids at all. You have to keep the fight going. People think, well, I'm just going to take my kids out. Well, again, there's all those kids who are still there. You've got to fight for them. And then you've got the fact that the aggressive LGBT isn't going to stop there. Once public education collapses, they're going to go after the homeschooling. They're going to still go after the businesses. They're going to still demand their pride parades in the public square. You have to keep fighting this. You have to re-deviantize this perversity. And case in point, there's been a very widely publicized story. 2 parents in Brazil were found guilty of homeschooling their kids.
Oh, yes.
And went to jail for 50 days. In Germany, this is the holdover from the Nazi Reich. Shame on Germany. They should have repealed this by now. You are not allowed to homeschool your children. A German family sought refugee status in the United States over this one issue. They were nearly deported because they've still been in tow waiting to get their citizenship affirmed. But it's that serious. So there has to be this attitude, not of retreating from decrepit institutions, but fighting to restore them, fighting to make schools strong educational powerhouses again. And
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, though. Do I put my 8-year-old kid in there? Do I put my 10-year-old kid in there to be part of the? I understand as an adult, hopefully with a little more maturity, biblical understanding, all that good stuff. But the general conversation is, should I put my 8-year-old kid into that cesspool because I'm trying to change things, or will my son be changed in the meantime?
That's a choice you have to make, but I'm just saying for mass resistance, I can understand, and I wouldn't begrudge any parent saying, I'm taking my kid out.
Yeah.
The point that I'm making is there are kids that are still there.
Oh, absolutely.
The point that I'm making is that you have parents who they can't take their kids out. It's not at a place where they have the resources or they can, divide the division of labor within the home so they can homeschool. You gotta help the parents now. You gotta help the kids now who are still there. But I wouldn't begrudge you one bit if you chose to take your kids out. Not a problem.
Have you heard of, this is my last question, BJ. Have you heard of, is it called LifeWise Academy, where they take the kids out for teaching at lunch? Does that ring a bell with you?
I've heard of it, yes.
Okay. I was just curious because I think it's a great program, but it's so sad that you only can have an hour with them at lunchtime. So, but thank you again.
You bet. Great question.
They had this in the hometown next to us, LifeWise. And like I said, they take the kids out for an hour and a half, something like that, during like study hall, something like that. And the school got rid of it. The school, and you should have, they had public hearings, and you should have, the crying and moaning about the bad influence that Christians have on people and how kids are just all upset over it. And we need to get rid of it because it's so dangerous. It
shows the power. You have these aggrieved leftists looking for any opportunity to stop the restoration of God and country.
Amen.
And biblical principle being restored. Hey, on the plus side, the state of Texas, the State Board of Education is now mandating training in the Bible. I absolutely support that. There has to be some kind of a moral training. There has to be a bit. Well, even putting aside even moral training, this is like historical. Our whole concept of public education is based on biblical principles. Benjamin Rush. The idea that, people should be educated rather than indoctrinated or simply enslaved to the state. This is all biblical revelation. So it's inevitable. You shouldn't remove the Bible. You shouldn't remove religious understanding or education. It would be worthwhile to restore reciting the 23rd Psalm at the beginning of the day. Even if you're not a Christian or even Jewish, it's like this is a good communal bonding experience. And if one or two people don't like it, then they can be quiet. But we have this abusive Supreme Court in the 40s saying, well, this is an establishment of religion. You can't do this. That's wrong. And you get rid of that moral order. What are you left with? A secular system of values. And what does that create? Yeah. Sexual degeneracy, rampant violence, teachers abusing kids. And of course, as Mr. James Bond pointed out, parents are just taking their kids out entirely. It's just completely ruined the public school system.
It has. But here's my concern. Do we really want public educators, master's degree in education, teaching the Bible to children? I mean, is that a good idea? But you saw what they did with sex education, right? What teachers did with that.
That's a great point. I do see the concern. I think that compromise issue is the LifeWise Academy, allowing that opportunity for the children to get that kind of. This reminds me of a very well-established theologian, J. Gresham Machen. That was his name, and he talked about how moral education, it shouldn't be in the schools; it should be off-site. So you teach the subject matter, but when it comes to moral education, the kids go off-site for a month, for an hour. It should not be the schools doing it. That was an argument he made.
Interesting, Norm.
Well, yeah, and we forget our history. In 1782, the Congress funded the printing of the Bible and all the schools. And in 1844, the Supreme Court ruled all government schools must teach the Bible, and it was a 9-0 decision. And I don't know where, the court is big on Preston. I don't know where that Preston went, how they justified that. But anyway, but I have concerns too. I think the left, I think evil would love to teach the Bible in schools.
Mm-hmm.
I would have a lot of concern if we went back to teaching the Bible, because again, who's going to teach it?
Vidal versus Girard executors. Okay. It didn't mandate the teaching of the Bible, but that they could teach the Bible and moral principles. I think, wow. I love it, being put on the spot to think stuff through. This is really good.
Sorry about that.
No. Don't be sorry. This is an important, engaged decision or question. I would be willing to entertain the risk, even if you have a creepy atheist reading. The Bible is still the Bible. The Word is still the Word. Romans 10:17. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing the Word of Christ. So even if a junky atheist is reading Scripture, it still has that redeeming power. I think. But if you treat the Bible like my sophomore year in high school, our English textbook had the entire book of Ruth in it. For example, there were other passages. The literary tradition, our English language is essentially dependent on the King James Bible. So even for that reason alone, we need to restore biblical training. That would be my response.
How about this? If you're going to teach math, well, if they do with the Bible what they did with math, anyway, if you're going to teach math, then you have to have some kind of education in that particular field. And if you're going to teach history, you have to have some kind of education in that, master's degree, if you will. So put the same qualifications down for teaching Christianity, teaching the Bible. Sure. You have to have an education or a degree, if you will, in that. Maybe that's part of the solution.
And that opens up a bigger issue, which is the training of the teachers is so corrupt. It is so decrepit. It is so convoluted with corruption. That is a big problem. We're not seeing enough of an aggressive effort to confront the universities that are turning potential teachers. They're just turned into Marxist indoctrinators. This is a big problem. A lot of this LGBT promotionalism, it starts in the colleges where the teachers are trained. You must create an inclusive, safe space for every student. and some of your kids might end up being trans, and you have to protect them from the evil Christian parents at home who won't let their little Johnny wear a dress. This is the crap that's being taught, and that needs to be cleaned out, and there isn't enough discussion. So that further goes into James' criticism about the schools. Here's an idea. How about we start clean out the rot at the core? Administrators have to be better trained. Teachers have to be better trained. There has to be a better vetting process. And on the flip side, in a way, he's inevitably getting his wish anyway. Schools are closing all over the country precisely because of the homeschool move. Parents are fed up with it. The resources are much richer and more readily available to train, teach, and instruct your children at home. It's getting easier. Yep. So everything is working in our favor. I really believe that school choice is a boon. That's forcing schools. They have to start competing to some extent, but when push comes to shove, and this is a big heartbeat for mass resistance as well, schools need to be excellent again. You have people like Winston Churchill, when they were in grade school, they were learning how to write in ancient Greek. They were learning how to work with and debate the ancient classics. I mean, it was like a college level education today. That's what they were getting at grade level. Amen. What has happened to that? We must restore that excellence in education.
And folks, please, inclusion. That's not what they're talking about. They are not asking to be included. They're asking to be dominant.
That's correct.
Actually, you promote their lifestyle over other lifestyles.
Correct.
You lift them up. You put them on the platform because they're to be worshipped.
Oh, that's exactly it. It is a new religion. I see the term. It looks like Bill Watcott is watching us, or the term. Oh. His name Watcott is appearing there in the comment section. It's a religion. There you go. They took God out of the schools, and it's been replaced with LGBT. And there's no better proof of this than Canada. Canada, it is the state religion. This is not a segue. This is commensurate, because Bill Watcott, he is being persecuted for his faith, faith in Christ, because he speaks out against LGBT perversion. And speaking out against it, telling the truth about homosexuality is now a federal offense, or it's treated as a hate crime, or he's being charged with one simply for passing out those gospel tracts in a Toronto Pride parade. This is another culmination of all the public school indoctrination. Oh, we have to respect everybody. We have to love everybody. You have to tolerate every type of identity. And if you tell the truth about any of them, you're a bigot, a hater, and you need to be re-educated. There was that egregious case in Ontario. There was a creepy man with those excessively large, prosthetic breasts that he was walking around in. It was absolutely destructive and disruptive. And but the stupid non-discrimination laws forced the school to tolerate this insanity. No, we shouldn't be tolerating this. No, we shouldn't be accommodating this. And we need to insist on excellence being restored in the public education system.
Yep. You're listening to lastcallradio.live, where you can see the difference. We have our guest Arthur Schaper on with us, the field director, mass resistance. That'll be our break, Mr. Anderson. And we need to ask this of you, sir. How can we help Arthur Schaper?
If you're asking me, visit our website. If you're asking me, join our fight. If you're asking me, please donate to the cause. We need help. We want to build a team in Ohio. We want to build a team everywhere we can. We're winning overseas, and we want to keep winning at home. We want to augment, not just complement, not just maintain Trump's successes. Fighting LGBT at the federal level. I'm very grateful when he declared there are two sexes, but Congress needs to pass laws clearly indicating what male and female are. We need to take steps to reverse that stupid Disrespect for Marriage Act. This allows me to segue briefly. We are still ongoing in our resolution against Obergefell. We were very successful getting it passed in the Idaho House again this year. We have faced some, we've faced some resistance because LGBT activists are terrified. They know time is short. Obergefell will be overturned. The question is, will the general public, will the pro-family movement have the courage, have the courage to maintain the proper definition at the state level to ensure a redeviantization of all of these perversities. That's the fight that is needed. Look at the I have to, some harsh truths here. The pro-life movement's kind of flailing right now. They got what they wanted. Roe versus Wade has been overturned, but it has shocked me. Abortions have actually increased in a number of red states, South Dakota, even Texas. It may be illegal, but you don't have equal protection because you have to tell the whole truth. You're killing a life. Nobody should be allowed to do that, even the mother. The same is true when it comes to the normalization of homosexuality. You can't tolerate it. It can't be it's okay in the bedroom, but just don't put it in the public square. It never works that way. There has to be a redeviantization. And that is the next step. Everybody's gotten really comfortable with let's just overturn a bad court ruling. That's not enough. We need to tell the unadulterated truth about all of these cultures of death, these agendas of death, so that we can restore life in our society.
Amen. Amen. I'm going to see if I can get this up here. Bushman had a question. I can't get it up there. Hang on. Maybe I won't be able to. Show it. There you go.
We have to tell the unpleasant truth. Do you want to read it? I got read it. Arthur, Christian child protector, brother Schaper, UN reported IDF is murdering Palestinian children in Gaza. Your your comments. You know what? That's my answer is very basic. There's a lot of Israel first haters out there. I don't have time for that. We have Jews in Israel and in the United States who are massive supporters of ours. I don't know if Arthur Goldberg was ever on your program. Mr. Edwards, but he was a tireless fighter for restorative therapy. He was persecuted by the state of New Jersey because he believed that people weren't born that way and they should be able to receive training and therapy to break free of those perversions. I think it's essential that we stand for truth across the board. I can't thank enough. We've had people all over the world reaching out to us wanting to stop this agenda, and that includes Israel. I don't have a problem speaking on this issue. It's a little off topic. The fact of the matter is, when it comes to the issue of Gaza, this is Hamas started it. And I'm going to go a step further. Hamas and the Nazi movement in general, they're homosexual movements. Nobody wants to talk about this. Walid Sheobat and his son Theodore, they've talked about this. Islamic militants have aggressive homosexuality in their camp. It is very disturbing. I'm trying to remember, Musab Youssef talked about this. Hamas agents would be arrested and they would be imprisoned and they would end up being raped by other Hamas activists. The sexual degeneracy is so pervasive and commonplace. It's horrible. And frankly, I am grateful that the IDF is destroying terrorists. It is sad that sometimes children get killed because the terrorists put the children in harm's way. It is an evil thing. But have you noticed there is such a parallel? Hamas, where there is so much homosexuality, and they put children in harm's way. Have you noticed that? And then you look at pride parades. They put children in harm's way. They promote the sexual degeneracy of those children. It's so commonplace. And I have to switch gears. I love talking about this every chance I get. The Nazi movement was a homosexual movement. God bless Dr. Scott Lively. It was a very difficult truth that he published. And I think he's been on your program. And he talked about many of them were homosexuals. They established the Hitler Youth movement precisely as a honeypot for pederasty. Do you not? And it is, you see the militant, Stalinist, fascist heart of what the LGBT movement is. You see it with Hamas. You see it with Fatah. You see it with these Islamic terrorist groups. You see it with the Nazi groups. A lot of people, they look at the communist Zoran Mamdani, who just got elected New York mayor, and he is a rabid LGBT activist. How is that possible? And he's Muslim. But there's no conflict. Sadly, I mean, Islam can say on paper it's wrong for two men to abuse each other. But I encourage everyone, there's a book called Why I Am Not a Muslim. It is the Confessions of a Former Muslim. And he has an entire chapter dedicated to the rampant homosexuality. Oh, it's horrible. I mean, Afghanistan, the whole Bachabazi perversion. They have boys, they dress them up, they force boys to basically be drag queens and then exploit them. It's horrifying. And so it is essential that we take a stand against this evil LGBT perversity.
Folks, let me give you.
We're glad to take a stand against it.
I want to give you a word out there, okay? It's something that Arthur is exhibiting, and that is uncompromising. And that's what's got us into a lot of the problems we have today.
Yep.
We are so inclined to compromise. We don't want to offend anybody. Gosh, if I say this to them, they may not come to the Lord. You've got to be bold, folks.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Edwards. I'm so glad to be on the program today. This is not a disclaimer because we're negative to religion. Mass resistance is not a ministry, but it's not because we resist religious sentiment or the deliverance of scripture or the statements of scripture. That's not a problem. We just recognize that only because you said it about 3 times, natural law. That is an uncompromising unity. Whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, a Hindu, or you're just a civic religionist, like who was it? Thomas Paine. Most people don't know that he was a deist, unfortunately. Even though he couldn't get away from the Bible, because our focus is on natural law, the laws of nature, and nature's God. You can't get away from that.
Amen.
So,
I like it when you sing my song.
We did bring that back. Natural law. This is Clarence Thomas has been establishing that. Everything. This is what our framers are. It's in our Declaration of Independence. I talked about self-evident. We talked about the laws of nature. Nature's God. We're going to be celebrating that official statement. 250 years, and we know the founders, the framers, they had to contend briefly with this perversion. Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, the commander of our continental forces, he expelled anybody who engaged in those perverse practices. But there wasn't this martial need to do it because they had a biblical foundation. You don't abuse your body with the same sex. And that was part of their natural order, which they caused to flourish in this country.
Amen. Amen. We're gonna have to cut this short. We got just a couple minutes left. Arthur Schaper, we really appreciate what you're doing, brother. We really do. And we tried to get a natural family month done this year in the federal government. It went nowhere.
Okay. You were looking, you tried to find a congressman to carry it for you in DC. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Miller, the lady from representative from Chicago, is the closest to it. I'm still trying
yes, I remember. She's in the southern part of Illinois, but I know what you're talking about. She's there in the land of Lincoln. She's good.
To work for her, hopefully, but it's late in the day, but that doesn't make any difference. It does parallel the laws of nature and nature's God. It's what our founders believed in, and wow, what a way to celebrate 250 with a natural family.
Yes,
and it's all we can do is pray at this point because it's at the last hours. Arthur Schaper, we thank you very much for helping us out today. Any contact information you want to give real quick for yourself?
Of course. Just to repeat, our website, massresistance.org. Please visit that. And I'll keep it simple. Just email me. That's easiest. Arthur@massresistance.org. How could it be any simpler? My first name, Arthur@massresistance.org. ARTHUR at massresistance.org.
Yeah, ARTHUR. I wanted to make sure we got that. Thanks again, brother, for helping us out today. I know you're busy. Go out there and make some people happy. Smile.
You got
Keep
it.
up the good work. Mr. Anderson, get us out of here. And if you want to hang on after the program, there maybe some folks might have some questions for you.
I'd love to.
Okay.
So
Join us next week for Last Call with BJ Edwards.